Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Hello everyone and welcome to your English class. In our lesson today, we'll continue with our fourth unit. Our lesson today is the first part from the writing lesson in your books, page 56 and 57. All you need for the lesson today is your books, page 56 and 57, a sheet of paper and a pen to take down your notes. So let's get started. We will start with the homework from the previous lesson, the reading lesson. It's actually in your books, page 115. Let's read the question. Exercise I. Study the picture of the news reporter. Here in the picture you can see a news reporter. Imagine the topic he will present and write them in the chart below. Then write sentences to tell what you think the reporter is saying. Let's take it one question at a time. At the beginning, you will write about the topics he's speaking about. Let's imagine. What could he be speaking about? Topics. Reporters will speak about sports. It could be about sports or a celebration. He is at the site speaking about a celebration. It could be also about foreign affairs or about education, housing, higher level standards, could be about newcomers, environment, or education. It could be about anything that you can imagine. You can come up with real topics, listen to TV reporters, and come up with answers. Now, let's go to one more question. Now, write sentences to tell what you think the reporter is saying. We will take one topic at a time and we will report what he had already said. We can say that if we're speaking about sports, what did he say? He said, our national football team are on the way back with the trophy. He had said that. He's saying that they are coming with the trophy. If it were sports. How about if we're speaking about a celebration? What would he say? He would say, the National Day is celebrated all over Saudi Arabia. Everyone is celebrating the National Day. How about if he's speaking about foreign affairs, about other countries' affairs? He would say, the visiting Prime Minister has just signed a new commercial agreement that will increase employment. They had signed an agreement. We can also speak about here education. He would say a new state-of-the-art elementary school has just been opened in Jeddah. About the start or the opening of a new art school in Jeddah. You can imagine any part of the news and write it down under the suitable category. Education, commerce, let's say celebration or any other one. Okay, let's go ahead for our lesson today, which is the writing lesson, your books page 56 and 57. By the end of today's lesson, you will be able to identify a report of an event. What is a report of an event? You will be able to give directions and you will be able to analyze a report of an event. So it's going to be about analysis and how to give directions. Ready? Let's get started. Okay, let's look at this picture. Looks like someone who's not happy. Let me ask you this question. Have you ever had to report a bad news? What is the idea of reporting? I have something that I want to tell you. I want to tell my colleagues. However, not all news are good news. Sometimes they are bad. Maybe bad marks, someone's death. It could be something bad. Have you ever had to do such a thing? I guess we all had to do it. How did you feel? Usually people feel confused. They don't like the idea of reporting or telling other people about the bad news. What did you do and what was the news? Let's look into your books, page 56. We're having here a picture, or let's say two pictures for two. Who are they? We're having a man and a lady. Who do you think they are? Looks like maybe a brother and a sister, a husband and a wife. Maybe they are an uncle and his niece. Could be a father and his daughter. We don't know the relation. What are they talking about? Look at their faces and tell. Are they talking about, let's say, commerce, education, these things? No. They look like as if they were talking about something that is personal. They don't look like they are happy. Okay? Let's look again to the picture, and we're having question number 1. Look at the scene in the picture. Who do you think these people are? Let's make guesses. We have a man and a lady. Could be a father and his daughter, an uncle and his niece, brother and sister, siblings. Could be anything. How are they feeling? Look at their faces. If you want to know how someone feels, just look at their faces. They look worried. They're not happy. Worried. They look sad. Maybe something bad had happened to them. Okay, let's get to know. Now, you will listen and you will come up with one answer. What seems to be the problem? Listen to the whole report, the whole thing, and tell. There is a problem. What seems to be the problem? Let's listen to the report.
She called her brother at work. She knew he didn't like to be interrupted, but she didn't know what else to do. Their mother's condition was deteriorating. He sounded annoyed when he answered the phone. He was probably in the middle of a meeting. She apologized and stressed that she wouldn't have called if she hadn't thought it was urgent. His tone changed instantly. He asked her what was happening and if everything was all right. He wanted to know if the doctor had been notified and when he would be coming to see their mother. He sounded very stressed and worried. She tried to reassure him by telling him that the nurse was at home, looking after their mother and their aunt, and that everything was under control. He asked her to wait for a minute while he took care of something. She heard him speak to some people, probably clients. She heard the words family emergency and health and realized he was excusing himself. Then there was some noise of chairs being pulled, people moving, and a door opening and then closing. He came back and explained that he had to interrupt the meeting and reschedule it for another day. She thanked him for having done that, and before she had a chance to ask, he interrupted and asked her to hang up so he could be on his way home as soon as possible.
So, what seems to be the problem? From the whole report, we can get to know that the problem is, it is a family emergency. One member of their family, the brother and the sister, and it is she is their mother. She's having a health condition. Also, their mother or their mom is sick, and we're having their mom and aunt had an accident. So this is the general idea of the report. A report of an event. What is this event? Their mother is sick. She had an accident. Let's continue. Now you will listen for specific information. Listen for details. Number 1, why did she call her brother? 2, what was he doing when she called? Was he pleased? Was he happy? What was the problem? What had she already done about it? And the last one, how did he react to the news? Now you will listen for the answers for these questions. Let's listen.
She called her brother at work. She knew he didn't like to be interrupted, but she didn't know what else to do. Their mother's condition was deteriorating. He sounded annoyed when he answered the phone. He was probably in the middle of a meeting. She apologized and stressed that she wouldn't have called if she hadn't thought it was urgent. His tone changed instantly. He asked her what was happening and if everything was all right. He wanted to know if the doctor had been notified and when he would be coming to see their mother. He sounded very stressed and worried. She tried to reassure him by telling him that the nurse was at home, looking after their mother and their aunt, and that everything was under control. He asked her to wait for a minute while he took care of something. She heard him speak to some people, probably clients. She heard the words family emergency and health and realized he was excusing himself. Then there was some noise of chairs being pulled, people moving, and a door opening and then closing. He came back and explained that he had to interrupt the meeting and reschedule it for another day. She thanked him for having done that, and before she had a chance to ask, he interrupted and asked her to hang up so he could be on his way home as soon as possible.
Okay, so number 1, why did she call her brother? The reason. She called him because their mother's condition was deteriorating. It was getting worse. She was sick, however, she's not getting better, she is getting worse. 2, what was he doing when she called? Was he pleased? He was probably in the middle of the meeting. He was busy. He wasn't free when she called. How did he feel when she called him? When she called him, he was annoyed. She knew that he is annoyed whenever someone will interrupt him, would stop him within his meeting. Here, what was the problem with the mother? What had she already done about it, which is the sister? The problem, their mother was sick, and she called the nurse. The sister called the nurse. The nurse was at home looking after the mother, and everything was under control. She had everything under control, but she called him so to let him know about the mother's condition, which was deteriorating, getting worse. The last question, how did he react to the news? He knew that their mother was sick. What did he do? He actually, in here, he rescheduled the meeting for another day and went back home. He canceled everything. We will do this meeting another day later, maybe tomorrow or next week, and he would go home. Okay, here we go. Let's try to change this record into a direct speech, as if it were a conversation, the conversation between the brother and his sister. From reported speech into direct speech, as if it were a conversation. At the beginning, from the first paragraph, we will say that he picked up the phone and he said, "Hey, who is it?" She replied and said, "I'm sorry, I wouldn't have called if it wasn't urgent." She knew that he doesn't like to be interrupted, but that was urgent. "I wouldn't have called you if it wasn't urgent." Then he replied, "What's happening? Is everything all right? Has the doctor been notified? When will he be coming to see my mother?" So in here, he asked her many questions when he knew about his mother's condition. These questions are, what's happening? Is everything all right? Has the doctor been notified? And when will he be coming to see my mother? She replied, "Don't worry, the nurse is at home looking after my mother and my aunt, and everything is under control. So I have done this. I called the doctor, the nurse is here, everything is under control." Then, what did he say? "Wait for a minute while I take care of something." Can you wait for a minute? I will take care of something around him physically. Then what did he say? Family emergency, health. He wasn't talking to his sister on the phone. He was talking to the people around him. Family emergency, health. This is all that she heard. Then he told his sister, I had to interrupt the meeting and reschedule it for another day. He's telling his sister what he had done is to reschedule the meeting for another day. Then she said, thank you for doing that. She thanked him for canceling and rescheduling the meeting so that he can come and see his mother. Then he said, sorry, I have to hang up so I can be on my way home as soon as possible. I have to switch off, or I have to hang up to end this phone call so we can continue any other time. Okay. Some of the words that were mentioned, we have said that their mother's condition was deteriorating. What is the idea of deteriorating? It's developing. However, not for good, for worse. Deteriorating, become progressively worse. Something is changing for worse. Like when we say, her eyesight deteriorated over a number of years. She used to see very well, now it deteriorated. She had to use eyeglasses. Later on, these eyeglasses don't work. Also, we had another word which is urgent. Something that is urgent, it's not only important and you have to deal with it at the moment. You can't postpone it for any other time. Urgent, like requiring immediate action or attention. Maybe someone is bleeding, someone who needs medical care at the moment. So urgent, like she needs urgent treatment. Maybe she had a cut, urgent, at the moment. Also, he rescheduled the meeting. To do something again, and schedule. Rescheduling, so to change the time of a planned event. We're having a meeting today, or let's say the class is at the moment, but something urgent happened, so we have to reschedule it. So everyone will know that we will change our plan and we will do it later. Like, the meeting has been rescheduled for next week. Something happened, so we will cancel it today and we will reschedule it. We will agree on a new date. Let's try to use these words: deteriorating, urgent, reschedule. His medical condition was not getting better, so getting worse. Deteriorating, so he had to cancel an urgent meeting and do it and reschedule it for another day. Usually, when something bad happened, urgent, we will cancel. Then, as we canceled, you should reschedule because you want to meet those people at any other time. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go to the report, which is actually on page 56. We're going to analyze it. How can we write a report of any event? At the beginning of the first paragraph, we have said she called. Also, we said she knew. He didn't. Also, we're having here he didn't, and her mother's condition was deteriorating. Which tense are we speaking about using in here? When you are reporting an event, you're speaking about something that is not happening. It happened. Maybe an event, a party that you attended, a vacation that you went to, someone you had visited. So the action is not now, it happened in the past. All of these verbs are in the past. Usually use the past tense. Don't use the present one. Then the second paragraph, we have mentioned in here, he sounded annoyed. His tone changed instantly. He sounded very stressed and worried. When we are trying here to come up with a report, we are not only reporting events. We also report how people felt, because I can't see them. You have to tell me how those people reacted. The sound, about their tone, their reaction. Notice he sounded annoyed. His sound was as if he were mad or annoyed. His tone changed from being mad to be worried. He said, "What's wrong?" Then he sounded very stressed. You notice the speaker was describing the tone of the speaker, how he felt. Also, we have here, she apologized and she stressed. It's not always she said, she stressed, she highlighted this or that. He wanted to know. We're not always saying he asked, he wanted to know. You will use many reporting verbs. He argues, he asked, he said, so you will change these verbs. He asked as well in here. And one of the things, you will come up with your speculations, like he might be probably in the middle of something. You're giving me your guesses as well. In the following paragraph, we have here, she tried to assure him by telling him. She told him that their mother is good, is doing well. She was trying to assure him. She was trying to calm him down. It's not always the same verb. Then he asked what he did as a reaction. She heard him, and then she heard him do this or that. It's not only describing what someone is telling you, also what you have heard. I heard the noise of this, or I heard the noise of that. So you are reporting a complete picture. Also, he said family emergency and health, and realized he was excusing himself. From the words that I heard, from the noises that I heard, I realized that this thing was happening. So it's not only about the actions, also about the sounds, maybe the smell you have smelled, or maybe it is about what you have seen other than you have heard. By here, we're having, then there was some noises of chairs. You are reporting even the sounds, and he explained the order of the events. She thanked him for doing that, and he interrupted. You notice we're coming up with chronological order. What she did, she thanked him, then he came up with, and he told her that he had to hang up. So we're having the order of the events. Don't start with the last thing, then you will come with the first. No, as if it were a story. Now, in your book's page 57, read the text on page 56 and make notes in the chart on what has happened. Let's read the questions. Who is the patient? Where is the patient? And what happened to the patient? Who's looking after the patient? And who is with the patient now? Now, what do we mean with the word patient? Someone who is sick. The sick person, whether he's in the hospital or maybe outside the hospital. You are a person, you are a student for the school. I am a teacher. However, if I go to the hospital, I am a patient, and the other who's going to deal with me, whether a doctor or a nurse. So who is the patient in this story? The patient is actually the mother, the man and the lady's mom. Where is she? She was at home. They mentioned nothing about the hospital. She was at home. What happened to the patient? What was wrong with her? We will say her condition was deteriorating. She was sick, then deteriorating. Maybe her blood pressure or other things. Who's looking after the patient? Is she the sister, the aunt? They have mentioned something about a nurse. She had a nurse, and that nurse was taking care of her. Then, who is with her now? Her daughter and the aunt. So her sister and her daughter. They are with her, and the nurse is taking care of her. So these are a summary of the story. In your book's page 57, we're having the writing corner. If you want to write an email or it's a report of any event, what are the things that you have to think about before you start writing? The first thing, get the facts. What do you mean with getting the facts? Report accurately. You have to report accurately what happened. Exactly what happened. So you will tell me the order of the events as if it were a story. Then, informal style. This one is going to be informal because you are reporting to friends, maybe to family members. It's not something that is formal. It's not a letter to a teacher or to officials. So you can use contracted forms as if you were speaking to friends. Informal style. Then use imperatives. If you want to give directions, go straight, turn right. So you will use imperatives for directions. And by the end, the opening and the sign off, you will use hi, hello, dear, best, and we're having here see you soon, because we're using these because of it is an informal letter or a report. We're not writing something that is formal. Okay? For your homework, come up with an outline of a report of an event. Think about any event, a happy or a sad one. Then you will think about, you will write an outline about it. What had happened, the order of the events. Okay? I guess that is it for the lesson today, and thank you so much for your time.